A stray quarter slipping out of a change jar can feel like leftover pocket lint, until its date and details turn it into a small gold mine. When familiar designs hide surprises, seasoned collectors know to look closer. Today's first spotlight falls on a seemingly ordinary piece, the 1995 Washington quarter. This coin might still be jingling in wallets or hiding in dusty coin trays, but certain examples have stirred excitement at auction tables. Stick around to discover why one quarter from that year can shift from spare change to a prized edition, and how spotting the right variety or condition can translate into real value. Back in 1995, the United States Mint struck Washington quarters in Philadelphia and Denver using a copper-nickel-clad composition. The familiar obverse, John Quincy Adams' protege George Washington, remained unchanged since its 1932 debut, but subtle differences in die polishing and pressure produced variations that collectors love. Proof versions, struck at the San Francisco facility and identified by an S mint mark, received special treatment. Polished planchets, deeply mirrored fields, and frosted devices created a dramatic cameo contrast. That extra care transformed many proofs into eye-catching display pieces, especially when graded deeply cameos or full cameos. Although the general circulation strikes look identical at a glance, a few dozen collectors have chased down die-error varieties from 1995. Among the most sought after is the 1995 D double die obverse. In this variety, doubling shows along Washington's cheek and hairline, a quirk from a misaligned hub during the die creation process. Another rare find comes from off-center strikes, where the blank planchet shifted slightly before the press closed. Those coins can display partial rims or cropped designs, and high-grade examples with only a 10 to 15% off-center error trade hands for a few $100s. Most 1995 circulation strikes remain within the standard range of face value, yet a handful of higher grades routinely command premiums. A mint state, MS-65 example might bring $15 to $25, while MS-67 coins can edge upward of $50. The real eye-openers emerge at the extremes. An MS-69 from Denver recently sold online for roughly $300, and when an ultra-rare MS-70 surfaced, perfect in virtually every respect, enthusiasts saw prices climb past $1,000. Proof coins follow a similar pattern. A basic proof in flawless cameo, PF69 DCM, typically falls between $80 and $120, and PF70 DCM specimens sometimes break $250. Auction houses have spotlighted a few headline-grabbing results. In late 2024, a PF70 DCM 1995 S quarter achieved $425 after a spirited bidding war, fueled by its razor-sharp cameo contrast and flawless surfaces. A year earlier, a certain 1995 DMS 69 Plus sold for $720 when a bidder recognized its uniquely lustrous finish, a trait traced back to that year's slightly altered annealing process at the Denver Mint. Those figures illustrate how condition and eye appeal can dramatically lift value, even for a coin not typically thought of as rare. Beyond numbers, each 1995 Washington quarter carries its own little tales. Collector forums buzz about a Midwestern gentleman who discovered a tightly rolled gem in a hoard of thousands, casually trading it at face value until a savvy dealer spotted its deep cameo-proof surfaces. Another story recounts a hobbyist who, after only cursory inspection, slid a 1995 D-error specimen into a bucket of pocket change, one that later resurfaced graded and slabbed for over $2,000. Those anecdotes remind us that diamonds in the rough often emerge from everyday transactions. The metal content of 1995 quarters adds another layer of interest. Although composed of a copper core sandwiched between nickel outer layers, occasionally a planchet incomplete in its plating reveals a flash of bright copper at the rims. Collectors prize those exposed copper edge coins for their striking appearance and rarity, with top-graded examples reaching into the low four figures. Similarly, slight die cracks, fine spiderweb-like lines on the reverse eagle, become points of fascination and can push sale prices well above standard issues. Condition remains king when evaluating any coin's worth. In average circulation, a 1995 quarter might show wear on Washington's bust, dulling high points and flattening hair details. Those bring values hovering just above face. Yet coins graded about uncirculated, AU 50 to 58, reveal most of the original luster and often sell for $1 to $3 apiece. Uncirculated grades begin around MS60, where even the slightest drag marks become apparent. From MS63 through MS65, mint luster blossoms, and prices scale accordingly. Once you enter MS67 territory, only a handful of proofs and business strikes hold that quality each year, making them prime targets at major auctions. If you've got a stash of 1995 quarters gathering dust, consider having them slabbed by a reputable third-party grading service. The difference in perceived value between an ungraded coin and a certified MS67 can be hundreds of dollars. And if any of your coins exhibit unusual coloration, dye anomalies, or evidence of a cameo-proof finish, a professional opinion could unlock hidden premiums. Even a slight shift from typical can set your piece apart in a market where collectors relish chasing the exact variety. While this first spotlight concludes, notice how a coin's story extends beyond its face value. From anomalies born in the minting process to the condition-driven premiums at auction, the 1995 Washington quarter offers more than spare change. It encapsulates moments of chance and the thrill of discovery. Up next, we'll turn our attention to its sibling struck 2 years earlier, a 1993 quarter with its own set of mysteries and market surprises. Stay tuned to uncover what makes the next coin worthy of a collector's eye. Shifting our focus back 2 years to 1993, the Washington quarter carried on a legacy that had already spanned more than 60 years. Yet that particular minting year holds its own niche appeal. The United States Mint was still operating in Philadelphia and Denver for circulation strikes, with San Francisco reserved for proof sets. In that pre-statehood quarters era, collectors often overlooked business strikes, assuming modern dates offered little beyond face value. But subtle differences in die preparation, planchet quality, and mint staffing gave birth to varieties and surprises that seasoned numismatists now hunt with zeal. In 1993, roughly 759 million quarters rolled out of Philadelphia and 641 million from Denver. Healthy figures, yet the exact blend of pristine examples versus well-worn pocket change proved far from uniform. The obverse design remained unchanged. George Washington's bust crafted by John Flanagan, framed by the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." On the reverse, the heraldic eagle clasping arrows and olive branch harked back to 1932. Even with an established design, minute shifts in die polishing could produce unexpected surface textures. Collectors often examine the fields under magnification, searching for frostiness versus mirror-like smoothness, clues that separate run-of-the-mill specimens from those striking enough to command higher premiums. One of the most talked-about attractions among 1993 quarters is the double-die obverse variety from Denver, often dubbed the 1993 DDDO. Here, doubling appears along Washington's hair ribbon and the motto, giving a slightly blurred appearance when tilted in strong light. Though not as dramatic as some classic double dies, high-grade examples graded MS65 and above routinely fetch $100 to $200 among enthusiasts who prize that subtle ghosting. Even circulated DDOs can outpace ordinary pieces, selling for $5 to $10 instead of a mere quarter, depending on how evident the doubling remains. Off-center errors from 1993 also spark collector excitement. When a planchet fails to align perfectly in the collar, the press can imprint only part of the design. While a 5% off-center error might show just a sliver of misalignment, a 20 to 25% shift exposes a significant blank margin, and those coins can cross into four-figure territory if they escape heavy wear. A crisp 1993 off-center quarter graded MS64 with around 20% displacement brought more than $1,200 at auction last year, proof that production quirks still lure big bids decades later. Proof enthusiasts, meanwhile, chased the San Francisco mint-marked 1993 quarters. Struck on polished planchets with specially prepared dies, these proofs revealed deep mirrors punctuated by frosted devices. A PF 69 cameo example typically trades around $75, But when you find a PF 70 deep cameo with razor-sharp frost on Washington's profile and jet black backgrounds, values soar past $200. One standout sale in late 2024 saw a PF 70 DCM change hands for $260 after bidders noted its flawless cameo contrast and blemish-free surfaces, a rare gem among fewer than 100 graded at that top level. Beyond these headline varieties, collectors also chase Planchet flaws unique to that year. Sometimes, a weak strike leaves sections of Washington's ponytail poorly defined, while an overzealous press can cause die cracks to spiderweb across the reverse. Those fine lines, often running through the eagle's tail feathers or across the wreath, become badges of interest. High-grade specimens showcasing distinctive die crack patterns have commanded premiums in the $50 to $150 range, simply because each crack tells a story of its own. Perhaps the most charming tales involve unassuming finds that transformed into headline grabs. A coin dealer in Texas once reported a hoarder who brought in a box of Jared pocket change, thousands of coins, mostly mundane, yet mixed in was a beautifully preserved 1993 D-graded MS-66. The collector had never submitted modern dates for grading, assuming little value beyond face. When the slab arrived, they discovered it was one of only a handful at that grade, and the coin went on to sell for nearly $800 at a regional show. Those unexpected strikes of luck remind us why even post-1964 copper-nickel-clad pieces deserve a closer look. Circulation where drastically affects value for these quarters. A typical worn 1993 piece, with smoothing on Washington's hair and erosion across the eagle's feathers, might bring just a few cents above face at a local coin shop. Yet when a circulated coin still holds clear details, graded about uncirculated, AU 50 to 58, it often fetches between $1 and $3. Collectors know that the jump from 58 Australian dollars to MS-60 marks a threshold. Coins entering mint-state territory reveal original luster and attract budding collectors, pushing prices to $5 to $10 for MS-60 to 62 examples. As the grade climbs, so do expectations and values. MS-63 through MS-65 coins exhibit increasing strike sharpness and fewer bag marks. A 1993 Philadelphia, Mississippi 64 might change hands for $20 to $30, while a Denver MS-65 nudges upward to $40 to $50, thanks to slightly tougher quality control at that year's demint. When grading services assign an MS-66, only a handful of business strikes achieve that distinction annually, and prices can explode to $150 or more. The pinnacle, MS-67, becomes something of a unicorn, with just a few documented examples, each commanding bids well into the high hundreds. Color and luster variations also enter the conversation. Spotting a cartwheel flash, a bright, reflective rainbow effect circling the coin's edge, can signal an exceptional strike. Collectors prize those specimens for the added visual drama, and when combined with a high numerical grade, a 1993 quarter with vibrant cartwheel luster might bring a 20 to 30% premium over a comparable but lifeless example. In the rarest cases, surface toning dances in subtle reds, blues, and golds, and coins graded MS-65 plus with multicolored toning have realized $300 to $400, simply because the hues accentuate the underlying fields. Current market values reflect both rarity and condition. On the low end, straightforward circulation strikes in decent condition trade for 50 cents to $1.50. Average uncirculated grades span $5 to $20, while proofs and error varieties stretch well beyond. Auction records underscore the extremes. A 1993 PPF 70 Ultra Cameo netted $300 in January 2025, and an off-center MS-64 brought $1,450 in November 2024. Those headline numbers tend to involve coins submitted to major grading services like PCGS or NGC, underscoring the role of third-party authentication in unlocking top-dollar sales. Collectors swapping tales often mention the thrill of finding a rogue Planchet. Occasionally, a blank might fail to receive its full copper-nickel plating, exposing bright copper edges or patches. These clad planchet errors appear as bright copper flashes around the rim and occasionally on the device itself. Graded and authenticated, such specimens can break $1,000, especially when paired with high overall grade and minimal surface defects. For those considering slab submissions, timing and service level matter. The 1993 quarter falls under modern submissions, where grading turnaround is quicker but competition is fierce. Opting for a higher-tier service with autograph authentication or special labels can add 10 to 20% to realized auction prices, simply because collectors perceive them as more collectible. And if you suspect a double die or off-center variety, it's wise to include detailed photos with your submission. Grading companies prioritize clarity on such errors and may assign special variety designations that boost market appeal. Another angle fueling interest is the future potential of pre-statehood quarters. As the Mint transitioned to the statehood quarters program starting in 1999, modern-day quarters gained broader collector exposure. That spotlight has brewed renewed interest in earlier modern issues like the 1993 piece, since fewer modern coins see certification. Some speculate that as younger collectors complete state series, their focus will drift backward, elevating demand and prices for high-grade pre-1999 quarters. Numbers aside, the thrill lies in hunting examples that look like they just left the mint. Looking through a well-organized folder of 1993 quarters can feel like exploring hidden chapters in American coinage. Each hairline detail in Washington's ponytail, every reflected flash dancing off a proof surface, and each telltale sign of a misaligned planchet whispers a unique story. Whether you've inherited a handful of modern quarters or stumbled upon a